I'm milling about with Brett Cullen and Lesley Ann Warren, and they are starring in It Snows All the Time. Hello there.
Good morning.
Hi.
Do you recognize my backdrop?
I
Is
don't.
that what is that?
I
Is
think
that?
you went fly fishing there.
Oh yeah, there I am. There, yeah. We're fly fishing on the river. That was the first day of shooting. There's Eric.
Yes. So, you guys, this is such a poignant story, and it rings true for me because unfortunately I lost my grandmother to Alzheimer's. So I was wondering if either of you have that sort of personal connection that you can share.
I don't, but I know Brett does.
Yeah. No, I took care of my mother for 14 years. She passed like 4 years ago, and now I'm taking care of my brother who has dementia, who's my older brother. So I'm the baby in the family. It all kind of falls on my shoulders, but it's okay because it's a disease that needs to be dealt with, and the people that have it, it's really tragic for them. And my brother doesn't admit that he has it, even though he's on a memory care unit. He's a little bit like Paul was in the movie, where I'm fine, and he's not. But so yeah, I have a deep connection to the disease and a deep connection to trying to bring awareness of the disease, into the public.
And Lesley, did you sort of come to that realization as well, to try to bring awareness?
Well, I was sent this. I have a lot of friends whose parents have been challenged and ultimately, died from the disease of dementia and Alzheimer's. And so when the script came to me, I understood it through them and felt like it was a very important and poignant telling of this one particular family and how they are affected and come out of denial and ultimately into, I don't know if acceptance is the right word, but then the grief and, just having to deal with all the ramifications of the disease. So I thought it was important to tell and to participate in.
Yes, and your chemistry together was simply gorgeous. I cannot tell you enough how moving it was.
Thank you so much. That's very kind.
Thanks. We never met before this movie, so there you go.
Really? So did you sort of connect on day one?
I think so, but I remember we had a dinner the very first night that I arrived. I don't know if you even remember, but it was in that hotel that I ultimately moved out of, I think. But I think truthfully, I think that we're both dedicated, committed actors. And so we brought, all of that experience and intention and created this relationship and believed in it in the moments that we were there.
Yeah,
I think right?
Something else about that's really fascinating to me is, given the role itself and how I'm playing Ed Hover, even though his name's different in the film, but it was an interesting exercise for me, is to play someone who was ill, and that I'm in the hands of these people. I was in the hands of Lesley Ann, I was in the hands of Eric and Jay and everyone else in the film, because he's not aware that there's something wrong, and they all are. So I was, in a weird way, I was in their cradle, and there was no restrictions, because I knew the disease and I know what people do who have it. So I just do what I do, and then these guys would try and like, get him back in the cradle. It's like he's. But it was an honor to work with Lesley and to be able to do this film with her. So I'm very pleased with our work in it and our relationship.
Yeah. What was the hardest scene for the two of you to shoot, would you say?
I in speaking a lot to the actual woman, Jerry, who lived this and was in it when we did the film. She she said something to me that I held on to, which was, she said, I cry all the time away from the family, but I also want to present a strong front for the boys, and I certainly take great loving care of my husband in every way that I can. So I think a lot of those scenes were difficult for me because they affected me. They affected me, Lesley, and so those tears that you saw were real with my understanding of the situation, and then being so affected by Brett. So I think maybe one of the most difficult scenes was when I finally look at him and say something's wrong, in the lead up to that, because her heart is aching, so much of it, trying to cover it, trying to be okay, trying to make the boys okay and all of that. But when she has a moment alone, she's brokenhearted. And so that was just a continuum of difficult challenges for me in the movie.
And what about you, Brett?
The blessing I had on this film was shooting in Omaha, and I got to, every morning I would drive over and see Ed before I'd shoot, him and Jerry. And probably the most painful scene, and it's on probably a personal level, is because of my mom, was the moment when Lesley and I are in bed, and I kind of wake up and it's my wife. I know she's there, and he leans over and starts to kiss her. And to me, that was a lovely thing to do with Lesley. But from Ed's perspective, the fact that, he, for a brief moment, remembers, oh, there's my wife who's in bed with me. Oh, wow. That to me was very loving and also very telling about the loss, particularly that my family's dealing with.
I think also one of the difficult scenes was when you were in the hospital.
Yeah.
Going through that CAT scan or whatever the
That's
machine
PET
was.
scan. Yeah.
PET scan. Thank you. That kind of terror, and having to be my character, having to be strong and seeing your terror like a child, and having to not allow you to succumb to that, but to take this test so that we could all have more information, was very hard, because I am like a mother beyond, and I'm so maternal in general. And so that was very painful to do and to see.
Yeah, painful to watch too. I mean, were you claustrophobic at all during that scene?
Who may know, I am claustrophobic when I have to have MRIs. I put a thing over my face, and I told my doctor, can you give me a Valium? Because if it's going to be one of those 30, 45-minute MRIs. But I found a place in Westwood, California that has these big machines. So I'll go there whenever I need one. But no, I wasn't claustrophobic in that. To me, the secret to that scene was him saying, I want to go home.
Yeah. What do you hope that audiences will come away with?
Well, I hope the awareness. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Lesley.
No. Go ahead.
Just the awareness of what happens to families that have to deal with this disease, to the millions of caretakers and caregivers that take care of these people who have this awful disease. And I mean, I'm one myself. I'm dealing with my brother right now, and it's, to me, it's the idea that how to treat people, how to understand the disease and what's going on. I said this, I don't know, I'm probably repeating myself again, but my mom used to tell me stuff about my father was upstairs, and my dad has been dead for 11 years at that point. And I told her twice, and I saw the pain in my mother's eyes. She was reliving my father's death. And the concept of learning how to deal with this is not to do that. The old adage of improv, that everything's a positive, everything's a yes in improv. And that's what I do with my mom. I should go, let's put the Christmas tree up, or let's go for a drive. And I go, okay, great, Mom, let's drive up to San Francisco. And 2 minutes later, that thought's out of her mind. But I also learned to understand that you don't go no. Everything has to be a positive, so that the comfort level of this person, when you start putting that out there, I think it does with my brother. I feel him tense up and get ready to get upset. And I don't want to see that happen, and particularly someone who's ill.
Yeah. And Lesley?
It's pretty much what Brett is saying. I think that what I hope that people take away from this movie is, how it affects all members of the family, and how everybody has a different reaction and a different grief cycle that they go through, and how they cope. And that there, just like Brett said, that there are better ways to deal with somebody going through this than possibly we maybe intuitively think. And to learn about all of that through this film and through the experience of this family, I think will shed light for others. And I think that that's always very valuable. And I think that there's something about not feeling alone, that when people who are dealing with this may feel alone in their struggle. And when they see it exemplified in a film or television or whatever, you just feel less alone in the world with this problem.
Yeah, so my last question, Brett, was this for you cathartic in any way?
Well, of course it is. I mean, I when they approached me on the film, Eric Watson and Eric Hover, I was, they weren't aware of it, but I was in the midst of taking care of my mother. And I finally said, I'm a caregiver for my mother. To me, it was because I've become extremely close with the Hover family, all of them. And it was my way of honoring their father and husband, and also a way of honoring my mother. So that to me was the most important thing. And yeah, in a certain way cathartic, but also in the midst of doing the film and being Paul and being sick, I wasn't aware of it at the time. It's like now, every time I see it, or when I'm very emotional. I've cried twice talking to you, trying to hide it, but it's a powerful thing.
Yes, I'm also feeling very emotional. Thank you so much, the two of you, Brett Cullen and Lesley Ann Warren, for a gorgeous film. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
People with dementia might not remember us, but we can always remember them.
Always news. Always refreshing. Always candid. Always milling about. Robin Milling delivers what celebrities are saying to you.